right, we're in a complete different setting today here, aren't we, in Sydney?
We are.
I don't know if you can see it on the video, but we got the Harbour Bridge behind us. We just got into Sydney today for the Australian Hair Fashion Awards, and we are here with Josh Stewart as a guest today.
The one and only.
The one and only.
The one and only.
The one and only.
Who no one's heard of.
Now, a lot of you might be thinking, who's Josh Stewart? And that's what we're here to find out today. For us, we met Josh a while back on one of our courses. It was the Elements course in Sydney.
It was,
in March. Was that the first time we met? I think it was. But we had been speaking
I believe
before
so.
that.
Yeah. You guys had been like in my awareness for such a long time, like digitally, which is cool.
Yeah, like we had like messaged back and forth on Instagram, and we met Josh at our Elements course in Sydney when we were here in March, and yeah, it was since then, and since we started the podcast, Lee and I have always spoken and said, you know what, we really want to get Josh on the podcast.
I think you're the name that's come up the most from all of our experiences this year. So
that's massive.
We were intrigued to get you on.
Yeah. That's a massive.
And probably not for the reasons people think either. Yeah.
We're just intrigued. We don't even know. We don't even know. Well, that's why we're here today. It was just the intrigue. It was kind of like, well, I think, so we saw about 300, maybe 350 people in the last year with education, and out of those people, I guess we keep coming back to, like, it's almost like Josh is like the one that got away. It's like, we're still trying to get the full picture.
So like, what was the biggest amount of value that we felt we gave?
At your course?
Out of all of our courses, like what's a standout moment for us? Yeah. That was kind of, you keep coming up.
Well, first of all, thanks for saying all those things. That makes me feel so good. I'm honoured to be like here with you guys. So, awesome. But yeah, in terms of that day, like it was really cool to feel your personalities come out, even in an industry that feels so faceless. Like when you look at other barbers, maybe that's not true, but like I really could see the authenticity of you guys come through, and like your heart for the industry and wanting to empower other barbers was so like there and clear to me. So that to me was an encouragement for the industry, which ultimately I've kind of moved from in a way. But it was more that than anything. And like I remember asking you guys a question. I was like, I think you were showing me how to like texturize long hair with a razor, and you were pulling out the section, and I was like, okay, people all do this, like texturize hair, but I'm like, what are you actually looking at? Like, what do you see like when you're doing that? Because like I could do it, but I didn't know what I was looking at. And then you just like, I could see in your eye, like you were like, that's a question.
That's the question.
Yeah,
that is it.
And it was
that it separates you from everybody else. Like, and I guess might sound big-headed, but us from everybody else. We always say it. There's certain people that just see something different. Yeah. Or hear that.
But it's like it's such a simple question as well. Sometimes people look to the complicated stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you see when you're looking at that? And like in our explanations of what we do with our work like that, it's like very important for us to talk about what we actually see. Like, what I'm looking for here is this.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, put your number one here. Or you use this technique here, but why are you using it?
100%.
But yeah, to go, I guess, beyond that, I guess why you kept coming up is maybe because we saw some like light bulbs going off. We could see stuff resonating and hitting with you on that day. Like, because when we get into the consultation side of the workshop, it becomes a bit more of an open discussion, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And we got into kind of some, I guess everyone has their 2 cents on like how they approach a client consultation, and that can actually go down a little bit of a rabbit hole at that session, and it can go into like knowing your worth as a barber, but also as a human, because we always come back to the human side first before anything else. It's like you need to be good as a human first before you, like, this is only something that we do to make some money. It's not, it doesn't define us as humans.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we get like too caught up in that.
I think, like how you said at the start, it was nice to see us empowering barbers. I think the way we like to see it now is we're just trying to empower humans. You know, and something that we've been saying, I guess our own discoveries lately as well is like, it's all about the human stuff first. It has to be about the human stuff first. And that's what makes the best businesses, the best educators, even the best, barbers or hairdressers.
And it's interesting though, like that desire and like wanting to empower humans is something that's like unquantifiable. So like we speak to valuing ourselves, but it's like, how do you actually do that? Like you can value yourself, but how is that recognized by others?
And yeah, that's interesting, and I reckon that's a light bulb moment for me right there. Like it ties back to, I guess you've got to have something tangible to show it through, and I guess our medium is hair.
Yeah.
Like we're trying to help people empower themselves, but our medium is the hair cutting. Yeah, I guess that's how I would tie it.
It just opens the door, doesn't it? Hair for us is like, it's just such surface level. Like what we've learned from the last year now is like literally hair is on the surface. Like it's surface level.
Yeah.
It's what gets us through the door to then work on the person and the people of the industry. So to contextualize the situation a little bit more for anyone who's listening, not long after we did our course, Josh went on his Instagram and he put up a video of him speaking and more or less stepped away from cutting hair.
Yeah.
Do you want to take us back a little bit on your story and just like give us a brief introduction as to like what you've kind of done with your life, how you got to even cutting hair in the first place, and then what ultimately brought you to that point?
Yeah, crazy. That's it. I could go in so much depth, but we could go brief. For sure.
Well, look, we got time. So like, if you want to get into it, go for it.
Well, thanks for giving me the opportunity, because like I guess that's a story that's pretty like close to my heart, and there's been so many factors that involved me getting into hair to begin with, and then continuing on. And like for me, it started like I was in a pretty down spot in my life for sure. Like was in a relationship and that crumbled, and that was like my God at that point, which is weird to say, but like we all worship something, like we put something at the top, and when that falls apart, what are you left with? And I guess I had like a good relationship with my barber at the time, Jeremy Stevenson, and each month when I went to him, I was like, this is special, like he's listening to me, he cares. And I was like, I want to be able to do that for people. I want to be able to sew into someone's life, like through that guise of, this is a service, but it's also like a mask for us, because we have that opportunity to get deep with people on a consistent basis. Yeah. And like relationships take time, so it's nice to be able to have that time with someone to build them up. So that's like what the catalyst was for me to get started in barbering, and then I loved it. I fell in love with the actual craft. Like it's so fun.
We hear that a lot.
Yeah.
Right. That's what it is for us.
It's crazy, isn't it? Because like we love the craft side of things too, and like we have been having this conversation recently with a lot of people. Something gets lost in the transaction. Like when you start off, you have that romantic kind of idea of what it is, but then something gets lost in the transaction of the day-to-day grind. You feel like that's what kind of happened, or where did it go next? So,
maybe not so much that.
Yeah.
Like, I think for me, like, it really came down to, like, my body, which didn't seem to be built for it. So, like, I have a lot of respect for people who can cut 20 heads a day and keep churning them out. But that just didn't work for my body, which is ultimately, like, I wish it did. But ultimately, I think, what am I trying to say? Yeah, it was a good sort of season for me, working like that and working hard. And what I struggled with was seeing that financial cap. Like you'd try new things on socials, you'd try all these different avenues to push out and make something of it. But it just felt like it was kept closing in on me, which for me particularly is like, I put that down to like a God thing. Like I think it was God pushing me into a different direction. But you can look at that however you like. But so I think that was like the straw that broke the camel's back, to say the least. But yeah, and like I guess post barbering journey, now it's like I still have that skill, and it's like I can bless people with it and use it to so into someone's life without that sort of transactional thing you're talking about, which is there for sure.
Yeah,
it is
absolutely. There's a difference, you know. I just cut like one of the guys' hair earlier, and he was like, "Oh, can I sort you out for it?" You know. Afterwards, I was like, "No, it's just I don't want you like why? That's we're catching up right now. This is on both of our time. I agreed to do it.
Yeah,
you know, like no, don't worry about it. Like it's, and that's what I said to my clients. And I was like, my next price increase is going to be to 0, because next time, when I'm at a point where I'm making enough money for me to be happy, I don't need to make money by cutting hair. You know,
it's so good.
And it's just like, all right, well, I'll cut your hair because I want to spend the time with you. I want to have the human connection.
Yeah.
You know, and I guess, like you said, a part of that gets lost too when you don't have that skill. Because it's very rare these days that you can get people to a place where everybody's present.
Yeah,
that's why I value the podcast so much, because we're 3 of us are here right now and we're present. Right, like
that's cool.
When you're cutting someone's hair, both of you are there.
Yeah,
for the most part. Yeah, unless there's sensory overload, which happens in barbershops. Yeah. It's just loud.
Yeah,
too many things going on, and sometimes I feel really bad. But like I feel like my body kind of protects my mind protects itself sometimes.
Yeah. And
it just shuts me off like to hearing things, and people could be talking to me and I'm just like, oh sorry, you know. But like there's just too much going on.
Yeah.
Overstimulated. But yeah, it sounds like you've went on a bit of a journey then, to a degree, like a bit of a self-discovery journey, a bit of a spiritual journey. Within all of this too.
100%.
Just given what some of the things you were saying and how you were kind of saying them, I was like, okay, he's tapped into that. And like we said off camera a second ago, I seen a few videos like after our course that we did where we met you, and before you posted that video, I seen a few people sharing videos and pictures of you like reading, and you know, you seem like quite an introspective and deep guy.
Yeah, well, that's interesting that comes across in socials. Well, I feel so like
I think maybe to the right eye, it's like what you see again. You know, it's like
true,
that's what we see.
If you've got the eye to see it,
not a lot of people would see that actually.
I don't think. Yeah, I'm like a bit overwhelmed that you can see it. And I don't know. I don't like attribute that to myself. Like I think it's just something that I've like been given, and I'm just walking in. If that makes sense, it's like not really. It's like this hunger that can only be fed by something else. That, I don't know.
You still do a lot of yoga?
No.
So seeing you doing a bit of yoga, I think that's when I was like, this guy's onto something. Because I used to do loads of yoga. I still do a bit now, but I used to do loads of it. And I'm like, this guy's doing yoga. This is great. I think I used to like literally. That was the only thing I would ever message you about. like, nice moves, man. You'd be like, cool, thanks.
Do you still do yoga?
A little bit, yeah. I'll just do like I kind of worked out the poses that work for me, and then
downward dog.
I'll just stick with them. Yeah, downward dog. Yeah. Bit of that. I'll be doing a few of them before I go to the awards tonight. You know,
gotta stay limber. Stay limber.
Yeah, stay limber. Get them out of the way before I go in. You know, ducking and diving. So that didn't really help with the posture stuff, like the body stuff, or.
Well, I think with therapy, like the common thing that seems to, from what I've listened to and researched, is like therapists do their best to facilitate someone to heal. But the person who needs the therapy has to do the work to heal still. And I can honestly say that was the one time I did what my therapist told me to do. Physically, I was doing the exercise and trying to strengthen what needed to be strengthened, but wasn't getting me there. Okay. So, yeah. But, it's one of those things. Yoga was helpful, but I think it was just the beginning, and it's a continual journey, that we're all on. So
yeah, amazing.
Yeah,
it's really interesting that you're so in tune with your body like that and being real honest. Like, just feeling like you weren't cut out for it, you know, because there'd probably be so many people just try and push through it.
Well,
like, there's a number of factors there too. Isn't it? It's a number of factors there too. Like it's like the body and the mind together.
Yeah.
And then you start adding the soul and the spiritual stuff to it as well.
Yeah.
And it's like it forms a certain belief system as well. And then you're like, oh, it's like once you see it, you can't unsee it.
I think when you're so aware as well, like you're so conscious of those things, it's like an equation, isn't it? If one thing's not making it add up, the whole thing comes falling down.
Absolutely.
Like, and then you think, oh, what is it? And some people just again push through, but because they might not quite have the awareness, you know.
Yeah.
You know what keeps popping up in my mind is and I'm trying to tie it back to the Elements workshop as well, just to kind of contextualize it all again. It's like, and in that consultation side of things, we talk a lot about self-respect as service providers, as professional hair stylists or whatever we want to call ourselves. We talk a lot about self-respect, and like I feel like that stirs the biggest emotional kind of response out of the group generally. But like what I'm getting from you is like, you know, it's a self-respect thing ultimately. You know, what them things that came together, like the financial cap as well. It's like, do I really want to do this to my body?
Yeah.
For this reward?
Yeah.
And it's almost like, fuck. It's like once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know?
Yeah. If you're aware.
If you're aware of it.
Yeah.
And if you have the bravery to then say, you know what, fuck this, I need to do something that's better for me. And the funny thing is about Lee and I is we're in the hair industry, but we won't shy away from telling you to go and do that for yourself. Like, do it for you, because ultimately it's your life. Like if it's stepping away from hair, then step away from hair. Hair's just,
and like that's
what even is it, you know?
Yeah. And that's like
what even are we doing? Like,
but that's like what we said at the start. I think that's why I think it's been that's been the most profound experience for us. We're like, wow, this guy came to our course, and like I like to think that we kind of gave you the key to be like, all right, maybe this isn't what I need to do, you know?
Yeah.
Like, and you're just out of there, you know? That's what it seemed to us, but I think that's very empowering, you know? I'm like, great. You know, again, it's nurturing the human thing first, because we've had plenty of people tell us that, oh, getting someone on the podcast like that is bad for business. But it's like, well, if you're going to nurture the human first, we're here for you if you're in it or out of it.
Yeah.
You know? And we'll help you go either way. So I think that's why it was the most
massive.
Yeah. And I think that's what I was saying. Why?
But, you know,
not for the reasons you think.
And like
no other reason.
And we've caught up. Josh and I had a conversation about a month ago, just on FaceTime, and you know, it was nice to hear that you're still doing some hair, but it was more on your terms.
Absolutely.
I think that's like one of the main things, like going forward in our industry, like moving into 2022, and after all the craziness that's gone on in the world, that sense of autonomy and like having the choice of being able to do shit when you want to do it.
Yeah. Massively.
Like, if your body's feeling rough one week, you're not chained to that chair, like where you have to be like, oh, I just have to go and do this now, and you have no choice. You know, people
you have to do it.
You have no choice, because especially like, you know, a lot of barbers as well, and this isn't to like put anyone in a box, but like a lot of barbers don't set themselves up financially, and I'm just fucking the very same. I don't, you know, obviously I've had a lot of outgoings recently, but I haven't set myself up very well financially because I was never taught to do that.
Yeah.
So then what you end up doing is you end up fucking your body and getting into a bad financial situation where you end up having to work week to week to maintain your lifestyle. It's a vicious cycle. And it can take its toll in the mind.
And I think the industry itself, as we see it right now, is like, you know, the proof's in the pudding there. You know, there's so many people doing, you know, what you're doing, leaving the industry or trying to change the way that they work. So I think, just that mindset of like, just you have to keep going and not being conscious and aware of like what it's doing to your body or your mind. I think one of the other things is just treating it like a job role as well. Like, it's such a creative endeavor, and like the way that we tie this thing together, it's like I was saying, hair is almost like a medium now for me to just get to people. You know? Like, I've spent so many years perfecting the craft. Like, you know, I've done a million good haircuts. You know, now it's about really trying to connect with people. It can be an exhausting thing. You know, you try and do that 10, 12, 15 times a day. you know, and then, but again, there's a consciousness level. But I think, yeah, the industry as we see it right now is the proof's in the pudding right now. It's like, it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah.
And people, like, salon owners don't know why they can't hire people now. You know, they're like, oh, I can't find staff. You know, they're still calling them staff, not talent. Yeah. I think that's why, because we've just gone gung-ho down a certain rabbit hole.
Yeah, and it's hard once you've like set a status quo of how to do things. It's hard to backflip on that and think differently. Yeah. Like, it's like a fish in a bowl in water, and they don't realize they're swimming in water till they like jump out of it. It's like, maybe we could look at the whole thing a bit differently. Maybe we could flip it on its head.
Yep. I love that, and that's how I talk about life in general. I'm like, look, this life is just one way out of 1,000 ways we probably could have done it. You know, it's just a bunch of decisions that we've made over thousands and thousands of years. You know, we can decide to do it differently if we want to.
Absolutely.
I think when you have that like bravery to like look at things very objectively, you know, like you can objectively look at certain situations, and like I find myself looking at that, like the further down the journey I go of my personal development and even tapping into my spirituality, I'm very like, it's like been a hard shell to break through for me, you know, but I'm getting there. Day by day I'm getting better and making more improvements and feeling better about myself and the world that we're in. But like, it can be quite a hard journey, like, you know, it can be tough, you know, when you realize it initially and you're like figuring out, like, you know, you got there's a lot of factors at play there before you come to it, ultimately a decision where you change what you're doing in your life. But our industry definitely needs to hear more stories where, you know, flipping things on their heads, breaking that stereotypical way of doing things. It's like the framework of quitting is for winners, you know, like that Steven Bartlett talks about. And that's usually like something that is just shunned upon, sorry. People are like, quitting is for winners. You fucking mad. Like, what do you mean? But leaving the right situation, like if it's the right time for you to leave a situation, then it's, you've done the right thing ultimately for you.
It was really like a season where I was struggling with that question day to day. It wasn't like, I need to go. Definitely. It wasn't that at all. Like, I really wanted to stay. And like, Sam, who I worked under, he was like encouraging me, like explaining how this is, you know, building your work ethic and things like that, which I'm so for. And it was like, I'm putting in this, trying to push past it. There were days where I was at the last haircut of the day and I was almost in tears, purely just because my back was so sore. So it's like, this decision wasn't like I'm just quitting. It's like, I've given it all I have, and I don't think I can do it. And I guess my heart for the industry is still so there. It's like, to even be sitting here with you guys, like, who I admire in the industry, like 6 months later, and still care as much as I did when I was doing the day-to-day work. Like, I want to be able to help in that change, you know, like, and I'm excited to see what technologies and things that can change the industry down the track. We might be a bit early.
No, I think we're right on time for that, actually. And we've had this conversation as well about like moving forward. And I think when you're in that position, like you said, maybe it's a sign, you know, something's pushing you in a different direction. Maybe your expertise and knowledge and skills could be used in a better way. Maybe you don't have to be there behind the chair doing that. That work ethic could equally be put into something else.
Absolutely.
That's of more benefit. It's like the 1-to-1 versus the 1-to-many. You know, do you want to be just doing that one person something, like giving them a service, and giving them that value, or do you want to be like 1-to-many? You know, like you can reach thousands of people, affect millions of people potentially if you get the right technologies going. You just never know.
It's exciting. It's
What one thing that I'm thinking in my head, like something that I struggle with, I think, from I guess frameworks from when I was a kid, is like the judgment around your decisions and quitting and stuff like that. Was there a moment when you like justified it? Like how did you justify it? That's the thing that I'm amazed at. When I think about like the quitting is for winners thing, I just wish I was better at it. But I don't know, like there's got to be a moment where you're like, okay, you almost like justify it with yourself, or someone would say something. Usually it's like external for me. I'm terrible at like justifying things for myself. when it's a decision like that? Was there a moment when you were like,
it's interesting that
you're doing it? You know, like, it's hard, right?
Yeah.
Because there must have been a moment, like you just said, like there's been a time where you're like, I really want to stay, but I don't want to go, and it's like judgment laying on it, and
Absolutely.
you know, yeah.
Well, it stems from, because I definitely can relate to that. Like, it's funny that you've had that same sort of, I guess, programming growing up, but fear of man is a powerful thing. Like, we care what people think of us. Like, it plays into everything we do, every decision we make. So, like, yeah, that was on my mind for sure. But when that falls into line with a fear of God, it's like the rest becomes like play almost. Life becomes playful.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it's good.
But like, if it's in the right order, or like what I believe to be the right order, then the decisions you make suddenly don't serve others and what people's opinions are of others. They're to serve like your one-to-one relationship, you know.
Amazing. Yeah.
And I don't know.
No, it does. Well, it frees a lot of judgment, right? Like,
absolutely.
From other people, anyway.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I feel like when you go down that journey, like, you know, of that deep kind of way of thinking about things, you know, like that almost like spiritual way of thinking, you almost don't really give a fuck anymore. Like, at a certain point, you're almost just like, I don't care, like, what people think. And, but it's more a self. Like, I know where these questions coming from is more a self thing, because we'd find that it's still hard to make that decision. But at a certain point now, it's almost like, for us, it's like, we're happy with what we're doing. We're happy with the message that we're spreading.
Yeah.
You know, we're being true to ourselves.
Yeah.
And I don't really need, like, somebody else to be, like, telling me that it's right or wrong.
Absolutely.
Like, I'm just happy with my own decisions.
Yeah.
It's funny, because, like, we're going to this awards tonight. Yeah, like, and it's like, if we win, great. If we don't win, great. We're still doing the same shit tomorrow.
Yeah.
And we're going to still continue to move in that way.
Yeah.
What this does is it just gives us a louder voice to be able to spread this message. That's all.
Yeah.
You know?
So good.
I'm having so many realization moments right here, like thinking about that judgment in the back of your head. Like we had a like a business planning day a couple of weeks back, and there was a moment in there where something came up. We were talking a lot about family and like frameworks for family.
Yeah.
And I was saying to Owen at the end of the day, there was a moment where I checked out in that day, and like this wave of like emotion came over me, and I just could not remember. Like I was like, I need to debrief this with Owen or somebody. You know, I need to tell them.
Yeah.
Got to the end of the day, and I couldn't remember what I was. My ego was such it, and that's when I was like, oh my God, I had this realization of like, this is deep rooted, like this is stuck in there somewhere, you know. But slowly as the weeks go on, it's starting to trickle back to me.
Yeah.
And we were talking a lot about our relationship with money and the decisions we make. And I think there's a lot of like judgment from my childhood that is stuck in my head, which still influences the decisions that I make. And like you just talking about it, then, you know, it's kind of bringing it up in my head, like I need to dig that out, you know, and it's like to boost my confidence, I need to get that out of me somehow.
Yeah, okay.
You know, like, it's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, over the weeks now, it's trickling back to me. Like, I keep getting these flashes of like, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's tied. It's something tied around judgment. A lot of it comes from my like childhood framework. Crazy. And it will influence all like loads of decisions. I think that's why my quitting mentality is so bad.
Yeah.
It's because it was never a thing. You just never quit. You know, like.
Well, maybe I needed more of that.
Yeah, I don't know.
No, honestly,
I don't think you did, and that's why we're so like. I think that's why it's the most profound moment for us, or for me, and definitely.
Yeah.
I remember the moment like we kind of were chatting to each other about. I'm like, good on you, like, you know, not even like, you know, because we all have our issues with the industries, and there's so many things I love, and there's a lot of things that I don't love about it, but. Yeah, just to see you do that.
We were
incredible.
genuinely proud, like, of you for doing that. You know, we were like, kudos to Josh.
And I think that's why I say, like, what, you know.
And we didn't even know why until today. We're finding out why. But we didn't know why, but we knew there was something more to it. You know, there was more. It wasn't just like, fuck this, I'm getting out of here. It wasn't an erratic decision. We knew that it would have been a well thought out decision.
Calculated.
You know, it was calculated. Like, exactly. It's not like you got caught up in the culture of barbering.
Yeah.
Where you just fucking do 6 days a week, going out and getting fucking hammered at the weekend, every weekend, and you spend your 1 day a week off in bed. you're just caught in that cycle, and you're literally that's just the hamster wheel of the barbering industry. We knew you weren't there, so it was like, okay, it's a calculated decision. You know, we kind of almost saw our course as well as like, okay, maybe Josh is coming to the course and he's seen it as like a last kind of give it one last fucking.
That's how we saw it. We were like, maybe this is
to a
kind
degree.
of,
maybe that was a maybe.
And I think I had that realization after. I was like, I think that you were coming. This is just my like vision. I was like, I think you were there for like more than just to learn to cut hair. You know? But
absolutely.
maybe on a deep soul level, like I don't know.
But that's what we got.
Maybe it's just something like in you, just driving you there to be like.
And I think that's what we got on the post evaluation forms as well. When we did the post evaluation, that's kind of what you were alluding to, was that like, okay, you know, there was more than just hair in that course as well. And like,
100%.
It was a day of that's what we like to tie the personal development side of things into it, and that's why we love these conversations. We'll never shy away from them. And you can see so much in our courses when we get to that side of the day. So much ego comes out. You know, like there's so many salon owners in that group, in that room with their employees, and they don't want to be exposed to a degree, or they don't want their employees to be exposed to a different way of thinking. Sometimes it's almost like a fear thing. Whereas like it's like no, hang on, like let's talk about the humans first. We'll sort out that side of shit first, like you know, and then we'll move on.
100%.
But no, I think it's interesting what you were saying earlier about that kind of framework, and I feel like for me, I've been doing a lot of digging recently too, and in my childhood, you know, in terms of like growing up, and I feel like I've always had to like prove myself, and I know it's only me that is like the person that I'm proving myself to, but I almost feel now that like if I'm not achieving something, that I'm just like, that's where I see my self-worth. But that's starting to flip now, and it's starting to change, you know, slowly, incrementally. But I think that's what keeps me moving and pushing so hard and working so hard. Is that, and it's almost like, gee, at some point, like that's gonna have to stop, you know.
I think spending time with you, I think there was a pivotal moment for me when we started doing this academy, and I think it's kickstarted all this stuff, is that one line of like embodying the role. There was like a moment where I can't even remember what I said, but Owen was like, well, you just got to step into the role now. You know, and I think that kick-started my disconnection from my old, like even further from my old self. You know, I was already on a journey, but like that, it's a weird one. And it's still going now. Like it's every week there's something different. And like, I feel like Owen himself is going through quite a transformational journey right now, but like mine is almost like, I don't know, I really feel like I'm getting to like the end of something, you know. It's like I'm just getting the last little bits out, you know.
No, I feel that too, and like I'm equally, as much as Lee's watching me on mine, I'm watching him on his as well. And there's we're good for each other in that way. I feel like, you know, like I'll be pushing you out of old patterns, and you'll be pushing me in certain ways. And I think, you know, it's even gone past the stage of it being a role now. Like, we've proven it to ourselves that it's not even a role. It's something that it's just, this is how we live our lives. These are the conversations that we have. It's not just on camera. It's not just on the mic. It's not just whenever something's out. But what tends to happen sometimes when you do first start in a situation like ours is you get in front of the camera and you fucking freeze. Because your mind starts playing tricks and you're thinking, I have to be a certain way. Where it's almost like that little sentence and that phrase, like, all right, now it's time to fucking just, you're here now, this is what you do. Like, step into the fucking role and take responsibility and do it. No messing. You don't have these 10 minutes. These 10 minutes are precious, you know. Not gonna fucking waste
it. And that was, I think that was the moment that I started digging that out, and like what I think the realization, it's still, I'm even on flashbacks to that moment right now, but like that moment in that day, that planning day, it was like what we are doing now, like up until probably the last 2 years, like everything I've done in my career, I've always had my, like that judgment in my head from when I was a kid. It's like, all right, if you make this decision, that'd be a good decision, because like, you know, just however the framework's made. But now what we're moving into is so much bigger than any of that. I can't have that with me, you know, because it's like that's so limiting in the world that it was built in. You know what I mean? Like in the world that I lived in when I was a kid, that judgment was there from, you know, my parents' structures and stuff like that. That's only ever going to get me so far. And now moving into what we're doing now, that shit's got to go. Like, it has to go. And like I can feel it every day, just starting to go and go and go.
Yeah.
Even like this conversation, I'm having realization moments now. There's like a different bit of confidence coming out. Now I'm thinking, okay, I can be like this now. You know, it's like freeing in a way. You know,
so good.
Yeah, it's mental, man.
How do you feel now? Like, you know, say, how many months ago was that when you stopped doing clients and you stepped out of the shop?
I stepped out of the shop probably would have been 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm. Have you done many haircuts since?
Yeah.
Still doing a couple a week or what?
Yeah, so I've got like a nice setup going for mobile haircuts. So I'll go and be very choosy with whose hair I want to cut. But yeah, just doing it for my like community at home, like my church community, just so, like using it as a way to build relationship there, which has been so good. So good. And it's like this gift that I feel like is being given to me. Not that I'm the best barber in the world, but like I can do a pretty good haircut, I like to think.
Yeah.
And people,
yeah.
But that's it's not even about that, is it? You know what I mean? Like we're like it's not even about doing a good haircut anymore. You know, like you are a great haircutter, but like yeah, for us the other message is so much bigger, man. Like, and I think it all ties back to the human thing, doesn't it? For sure.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. So I guess just moving into cutting hair that way, and then what it's really given me this season is like a belief in myself that I can set a goal and achieve it. So I saw Sam's shop when I first had the idea of becoming a barber. I was like, that's where I want to work. I want to work in that shop. That's beautiful. Like, and then to watch how that kind of played out and in my life, like it felt like I was a passenger, like I was saying before, and then I was there doing it, and then suddenly you're like, what's next?
Yeah.
And
totally.
And that's the thing that we're always chasing what's next. Like we do something, we achieve it, we're proud of it, but then it's like, okay, now what?
It's like you're just gonna sink into the monotony of that.
Yeah.
As much as you love it, you know.
Yeah.
At a certain point, you have to move to the next thing. It's like, I love how you call it seasons, because
we do that.
That's nice. You know, I like that. It's like seasons. You know, it's good. I like that because I feel like in my life as well, like just to relate it to that, I'm kind of in these like 4.5 year, 5 year seasons where it's like I can do something for that amount of time, reach my potential in it, get as far as I can possibly get, reach that ceiling, that cap, like you were saying, and then it's like, now how do I use what I've learned from that experience and move it into the next one? You know, it's like everything that I learned from my cycling days, I applied it to hair, and now I fucking smash it in hair.
Killing it, mate.
So good.
But like,
is it true? It's true.
There's something in there, like
it's true.
I can say it now. You know? Now that I've been specially recognised.
Yeah, special recognition. But like talking about the seasons thing, that's like a growth mindset thing as well, isn't it? I think not looking at life that way is quite fixed. Like something that I wish I was told that as a kid. Like something I heard on a podcast. It was a relationship counsellor. And they were talking about the seasons of a relationship. I was like, that hits. And like, because, and the person who was interviewing her, Steven, the Diary of a CEO, one of the podcasts we listened to, by far one of the best podcasts I've ever listened to. Yeah. They were talking about like marriage and like non-monogamous relationships and all that kind of stuff. And then he said, "Are you married?" And she was like, "Yes." And he was like, "How do you feel about that? How did you decide?" Because she has such a broad understanding of relationships. And then she was like, "I fundamentally understand that there are seasons to all relationships." I was like, that's amazing. She was like, "I understand that there might be a year it will be fantastic, we'll be on fire, and then maybe 6 months it won't be so good, but then we'll come back to 8 months of it being on fire again, and then 2 years it might be a bit more of a struggle." And then she almost looked at the whole relationship as like the seasons of it. And I think that's an amazing lesson to teach like kids, is to look at life like that. Look at life as seasons. You know, there's going to be some good ones and some bad ones. You know, but to try and see, you know, almost like the joy in all of them.
But there's learnings in all of them.
The learning in all of them, and that I think would have helped me with the quitting mentality. Because I would have been like, okay, this isn't going well. Maybe I just need to move out of this. I can come back to it. Maybe I need to get out of it. Whereas like if there's never a quitting mentality and you just got to keep going and keep going, that's a fixed mindset, because that almost says to me, nothing can change. Nothing can change. You have to be like this forever. You know. But maybe that was that generation too.
Like, yeah.
I think
pretty
it's
old now, so. Things have changed. Times different. Kids are different now.
No, I think, yeah. I'm just trying to think about it in a way like, you know, like it's kind of being innovative as well, and within yourself, within those seasons, you know. And it's from a relationship standpoint, I think finding the right person to be on that journey with you is important. Like, you know, with my partner now, Hannah, like we're both going through a very transformative time in our lives. You know, so like there's certain times where I'll ask maybe for a little bit more patience, you know, with me in certain situations, and not a lot of people are ready for that. Like, you know, and it does take a while to get there, I feel. But ultimately, it's just the learnings that you take away.
I think it's the seasons there, like
the seasons, you know, every single season there's a learning. You take it into the next one, and like it's just riding the wave, you know, like seeing the good and the bad. It's like the yin and yang theory. It's like there's always a bit of bad and the good and the good and the bad. It's like how you define it, you know.
Yeah. And I think it's accepting that there's always going to be that, you know. I think something that I try and remind you a bit of is those seasons, you know. Like I try and keep because I went through a breakup earlier this year, like after got out of a 6-year relationship, and like I tried to see, you know, the seasons as much as possible, but in the end it just became one big season, you know. It's just like not a good one in the end. But yeah, I think that's, you know, a really powerful one. I try and tell 100%. As many people that as possible, you know. If you I think that would fix a lot of relationships. I think it was one of our models, he works in like family law court, and I think the stat is now like 2 in 3 relationships end up in divorce.
Yeah, wow.
Like that's huge, isn't it? Like I think you could save a lot of relationships if it was taught to us that, look, it's not always going to be great, you know. There's going to be seasons. Like there might be some shit seasons.
But as you move through life, you kind of change as a person. Like the identity that you give yourself, I feel like especially hair kind of creates this identity. Yeah. And a lot of people see us as a certain thing, and then we start believing we are that thing. You know, like they see us. Like we get messages at fucking 5 a.m. on a Sunday morning. Can you cut my hair in an hour? Like, you know, like people see us as almost like a slot machine for fucking cutting hair, like, or a vending machine for cutting hair. And it's like we kind of get caught up sometimes in that identity, and we end up in the people pleasing cycle of just doing stuff for other people. And I think, it's just interesting to try and get yourself out of that. Is hard sometimes, for sure. Don't know where the fuck I'm going with this, but
this is what the podcast is for.
That's what it's all for. Just getting the thoughts out there, like, just keep them rolling.
Thoughts go.
But yeah, like, I mean,
that's interesting though. The identity thing would bring it back to like for that decision for me to stop. I guess it was a change of identity. Like suddenly I'm not that guy that's walking around my city that, like, even though it's a small city, but you know, like that is known as a barber there. Like there's a part of you that's missing almost. So it's like, where do you find your identity? What do you identify under? And like the broader you can make that in yourself, the more free you are to like go to different areas. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I think again that's very societal, isn't it? It's very like cultural and societal. Like what we've just done that over the years. Like you just do one thing. You know,
it's like how do you define yourself?
My parents have done the same thing their whole life. Yeah, you know. And I think that's been very cultural, is to tie that identity to you. You are the barber, you know? Yeah. It's like, so funny. I say it all the time. I've been saying it for years. You're a human first. Yeah. You know, you wake up a human first. Yeah. You know, like, and life should be out there to, you know, to explore all of those human avenues for sure. Yeah.
It's funny, the Jim Carrey thing that I shared on my story today. I was looking up like acceptance speeches, and, you know, like for different awards. Yeah. We have to do, like, when we won the awards last week, we had to, like, we got given this thing to like do an acceptance speech. Yeah. And I was just looking at different ones, and this Jim Carrey one came up, and they introduced him as like, and this is 2-time Golden Globe winner Jim Carrey, and then he gets to the mic and he's just like, "Hi, I am 2-time Golden Globe winner Jim Carrey." Like, and when I go to sleep at night, I'm not just a guy going to sleep. I'm 2-time Golden Globe winner, Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
It's like that's how we like define ourselves as barbers. It's like,
Yeah.
we're just known as the guy who cuts hair. It's like that thing that the pissed off barber shared this morning. I was showing you someone shared on their story.
It's hilarious.
And it was like, every time you go out, like say in your small city, every time you go somewhere, oh, did you bring your scissors? I'll be coming in for a trim next week. I'm in need of a haircut. It's like, oh my God, I'm like, there's so much more to me than just cutting hair. It's just something that I do. But how great is that? Like from that season of your life, you can bring that now into the next season, and you can use it as a tool to not, number one, make you a little bit of pocket money. Basically. And then you can use it to connect with people in the community. Do something good, make someone else feel a certain way. Obviously, make yourself feel a good way first.
Absolutely.
Something that I really love about what you were saying there about you do a few communities like that thing of like watering your own garden. It's a little thing that we've been talking about lately. Is like
I haven't heard this.
I wish people would spend like I'm guilty of it so bad. Like, and I think this is where I pulled myself back from the social media thing. Doing my head in was like trying to spend more time watering my own garden. Basically keeping my own corner tidy. Take care of my own people and the relationships close to me. Because it's like so easy to get sucked into the internet. And think that you have to please, all these people that you don't even know around the world. Again, bringing it back to like Steven's podcast, he says, why do you need to please all these people around the world? Like, it's different if you're trying to help them, but he was like, there's something really beautiful about staying rooted in your own community and watering your own garden. And that is as powerful as reaching people around the world,
It's the what then question. Like, we've been asking the what then question. To follow that up is a nice one is, what then? Like, once I get to a certain level of cutting hair, what then? And I think once you go down and you keep asking yourself that question and layering it on top of different situations, you get to a point where it's capped, and it's like you bump your head off the ceiling. And it's like, like for you, it was like, my body can't keep doing it anymore. I can't just keep earning this money for the sacrifice that it's worth. I know exactly how that is. Like, that's basically why I stopped cycling, because I was like, I'm literally one accident away here from like fucking myself up bad, like for life, and I'm getting paid fuck all to do this. Like, and even if I was getting paid all that, what then? Would I still want to do it? Probably not. I think if you can continue to ask yourself what then in life, like, I don't know.
It's helpful.
So what are you doing now? What talk about what then? What now?
What now?
What's happening in this
What are you
season?
doing?
So did you feel like, before we get to that, like, when you put that video up, and was there a bit of like a freedom? Like, did you feel a bit like of a release?
Massively.
That happened?
Massively. Yeah, it was like, it was a transition. Like, it wasn't like it was painful in any way. Like, it was really good for me to be able to just, and it timed itself well with COVID for me, so it basically meant I had a season of nothing. And I was like, whoa.
Nobody to annoy you.
That
like,
doesn't happen.
Can you still cut my hair? Nobody to annoy you like that.
Exactly. And like, I guess because we were in that COVID season where people couldn't get haircuts and things, it was purely just living my life. And I'm so blessed for this opportunity to have just had a couple of months to just read every day. Like, read the word, read different books, self-development books, and just explore it and not feel like this pressure that I had to impress anyone or be anywhere. And like, I'm going to look back on that season quite fondly. But it brought up like my real desire to like create. And I think we all have that desire to create in us in some capacity. And it was a part of the attraction with barbering, to create with some type of restraints, because that's helpful in a way. And like, the world of the internet has interested me. So, and I feel like being able to speak the language of computers is going to unlock so many opportunities for me. So that's where I'm sowing my time into now. Like, just continuing to read and then learn the language of the computers.
What's the language of the computers?
JavaScript at the moment.
Ones and zeros.
Yeah.
Did you you know, when you had that period, it's really nice to hear you talking about that lockdown period like that, because so much we hear just this auto response from people when it comes to lockdown. It's just an auto response. Like, it's just like, oh, it's so awful, wasn't it? Oh, like, can't
wait for it to get back to normal. Yeah.
But we've been toying with this idea of normal and natural.
Yeah.
And like, when you get to that stage where you start to appreciate it and to have gratitude for them moments and like that time off, for your brain to kind of ease and see, like, almost enjoy the quiet, like the present, you know. Like, Lee and I went for floats yesterday, and like, I fucking love the float,
so
because it shuts things off. And
sensory deprivation, man.
In that season of my life, COVID, that's what I felt happened. And so much genius rose to the surface in them moments. And it's like, okay, what have we actually, going back to normal, why do you want to go back to that? That's not normal. Normal is different to natural. That's the thing. Natural is just waking up every day and living your life as a human. Normal is still created. You've still created a normal. You can create a normal where you just don't stop working for 7 days a week, or you can create a normal to just live your life and get up and enjoy every day.
And that's what I say it to clients all the time. Like, that's part of the reason why we were in the trouble that we were in with the pandemic, you know, because our normal wasn't that natural or that good, really. You know? And I really didn't want to go back to that. I was like, we can't go back to absolute how it was, you know. Because it wasn't optimal.
So many pivotal moments. I think like we've made permanent changes. I've made a permanent change to myself as a human, even in the last couple of months. I think the last lockdown in Melbourne, and like, you can't go back.
I've seen big permanent changes in you for sure. But I think for me, it was a very confirming time. Like, for the things that I've been practicing over the years, then getting that break to really just live it, I was like, yep, this is exactly it, you know. And I think, like I say, it might be controversial, but like, without the academy, I might not have gone back to cutting hair. Purely because I'm kind of at that point in my life where I'm kind of enjoying those new challenges now, and designing my days and designing my lifestyle. How I think it's more optimal for me.
That's where it becomes challenging with the quitting is for winners thing for us, because it's almost like letting go of that, something that you did for 15, 16 years. It's such a hard thing to do.
Oh, massively.
It's like over half my life now. It's crazy.
It's like you don't know any different,
like,
you know?
when you put it like that, it's like,
wake up.
There's a lot of identity tied to it.
You know?
Wake up, drink water, breathe in oxygen, cut hair. Like, rinse and repeat, you know?
I think that's a like beautiful way of life as well. Like, that can be a great way to live, you know?
If you're in the right mentality.
Exactly.
I think if you have things figured out in here, in this computer where it's not JavaScript, I think then you can live that life very beautifully. And that's the thing, like, we wanted to share your story because we want to get a lot of different perspectives on the industry. And you know what, like, my mom's been cutting hair for 30 years, and there's elements of it that she still loves, you know, like, and she's got a bad body, but she just figures out like how she can make that better, for her.
There's something that we talk about as well, like, you know, at the end of the day, no one really knows what the hell's going on today, really. Like, no one knows what's right or what's wrong. Like, we can say whatever we want, but something I find really powerful is like the pre and post transformation. Like, you're the same, you can do the same things, but once you're transformed, you see them in a totally different way. And I think that's what Owen's kind of getting at. Like, if you get it right in your head, post transformation, the thing that you're doing becomes something totally different. I think that's also one of the things that keeps me in this industry, is like, I know that I feel like I can definitely turn this into something else. You know, like you were saying at the start, I think we can flip this on the head. I think we can. If we can transform enough perspectives, I think we can. And that's kind of where we come in with the academy. It's like, and I think that's, again, going back to why it was such a profound moment with you, I think that was one example of that, was like, you know, trying to transform perspectives. I think we can do it. I definitely think we can do it. You know, that pre-transformation, barbering can look like it's very extrinsic. It's all about the look, and you know, it's almost like a brand. You know, I say it sometimes, the haircut's just like wearing the Nike or something. You know, it's like, but then post-transformation, it can be something totally different.
It's very rare that the stuff that we do at like on them courses lands with people. Like, and that's no disrespect to anyone, but like, we're in that, like, we're still in our transformation.
Yeah.
Like, again, that transformational journey is like seasons.
Lifelong, yeah.
Right? But we could almost see it. And Sam was the same. We could see it landing with you two. And it was like, all right, it's really landing with these guys. Like, they get it, you know? And that was really like...
What's wrong with them?
Yeah. But it was good.
This isn't right.
But it's nice because sometimes you're almost like, oh, I wish, like, you know, that message was just received a little bit better by the masses, but we're not there yet, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine.
It's funny you bring up Sam, because that's exactly what I was thinking about when I was saying then you've got that lifestyle of waking up and going and cutting hair. And he, like, I look at him with so much respect because he does that. And I've never met a man so consistently happy and stoked to see me every morning.
Amazing.
And I just was blessed to be able to feed off that energy. Like, I don't think I would have lasted 2 months cutting hair if it wasn't for Sam.
Well, this is an interesting thing, right? Because, like, when you get to that stage of your journey, you were in that position, right, where you were probably in the best situation you could have been in.
Yeah.
Being around somebody like Sam.
Yeah.
So then it's like, what then? You know, that's where in your head you start thinking, well, what now? You know, like, where do I go from here?
Exactly right.
And you have to do something for your own stimulation. Like, you have to get out of that situation and move into something else that stimulates you in that moment. Yeah, keeps you moving forward, keeps the needle moving.
That's really, like, nice to think about the way that Sam is. Like, it's a classic, like, Gary V thing. You know, he says, like, you know, if you're happy, you've already won. Yeah. You know? You don't really need to change it, you know? And, like, that's why it's kind of cool, like, having your story. It's like, look, you can change it if you want to, but you also don't have to.
Yeah,
you know?
absolutely.
Like, if it's making you super happy, then keep doing it for sure.
So what now? Like, what's tell us more about the computers and the JavaScript.
The computers.
Talk to us in code.
What are they doing?
What are they doing?
So what have you? Talk to us about it. You know. I know that you're into a bit of the cryptocurrency world, NFTs, you're exploring that space a little bit.
For sure. I think there's a lot of opportunity right now in that space, and I've been drawn to it since a young age. Like, that's what I did through school and what I was naturally good at. But pre-transformation, I was not in a place to go and study, and even though I tried that, but a very, very different lifestyle I had back then. I think it's going to be cool to see what comes of this, you know, switch up on the financial system and how much that sticks and how that integrates with, like, what we're used to at the moment. Because I don't think it's going to be a complete change of the way the world works. But I think, like, the influence that blockchain technologies have on a lot of systems is going to be cool to see, and I hope to be a part of. There's something that really keeps coming up in my mind, and that financial cap on, like, barbers day to day in the barbershop, and, like, determining their own value and, like, how much their services are worth. It's on the onus of the person delivering the service to decide that, and it doesn't allow the free market to influence how much someone is worth. And that is something I want to dig into. And
we had a conversation about that, didn't we?
Yeah.
A few months ago, and I guess the main topic in that was, like, there's definitely some nitty gritties there that need to be figured out. Like, there's some things that are just hard to kind of look at the moment in that space. Yeah. But it really does tie back to personal branding a little bit too, in that how you perceive yourself to the public.
For sure.
Because for example, for us, you know, like, putting so much effort into our content and all of that, like, when the world transforms into something else, all of a sudden that could be worth millions of dollars.
Absolutely.
You know, like, and people who don't keep up with that are going to be wondering what happened. You know? Absolutely. Whereas, like, what to a billionaire, if they were to buy, like, an NFT for me to cut their hair type of thing. Yeah. Like, what's that to them? You know, like, they don't really care. It's like $20 to us, spending, like, our year's wages on like an NFT to like membership type thing. Now, look, I know that's diving deep down the hole there. But I genuinely see it going in that direction. It's just about figuring out how it works.
It's actually going to look, and that's why I think the details of it are less important than what the problem is, and then the solution that I think might come from it. So I guess, like, for me, thinking, all right, I'm going to move into this space, but still have such a strong heart for the hair industry. Like, it's a problem that just keeps coming up that I want to help solve, and how that looks, whether it be that specific of an NFT for you to, you know, that type of thing. I think it could look like 1,000 different things, and that's exciting. Yeah. So,
and you know what? Like, the hair industry has this bad habit of staying like the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You know, they're very prehistoric. They just operate off something that works, and they just run on models that can just work. I think it's time to start innovating a little bit and looking outside the box of what's been done before, and looking what do we need to do next. And like, I think we're very passionate about that. You know, I've been having a few conversations with different people about NFTs and seeing how that could work. But it's about, again, creating a certain level of freedom for yourself within that too.
Yeah. You
know, that's where it works. That's where it's difficult for the client's perspective. But like you said, there's about 1,000 ways of it to work. I think the NFT experiences are really something that's valuable. Like, in the future, like our courses, we might not even do that many courses in the future. They might be NFT experiences.
Yeah.
You know, we might do it once a year, and there's 8 spots. You know, that's it. Like Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory.
Well, that speaks a lot to what you were saying before, because you have built like such a strong personal brand, and you're continuing to do that. The only reason that can be beneficial to you is because you've put in the work to do that in this season.
Yeah.
And it's exciting to see what value can be unlocked on the part of the market for people who have sewed into their businesses and built such a like solid personal brand. Like, but,
I love it. I love thinking about that. I think something that we just need to think about is it really makes it beneficial on both sides, you know, bringing value on both
100%.
sides, you know, because like something I see a lot in the NFT space is like people's like doing it for that, they're almost like trading it like it's the stock market, you know. It's like, that's fine, but it's all for you. You're just trying to get freedom, you're just trying to get out, you know. And that's totally fine, like smart, make your money however you can. But I think once it becomes normalized and it becomes more of a sort of efficient way that we do things, we're going to have to be able to like tie the value back in there and make sure it is win-win and it is net positive for the future. Not, you know, because there's a lot of exploitation and a lot of shit going on in the world that we just don't need right now, you know.
Absolutely.
And I think these things, we've always got to keep that in the back of our mind, that we need to do it for the better, you know, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's very powerful, man. It's very powerful. Yeah. So.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I think it's very exciting to see where it can all go, and the whole the NFT space is fucking crazy. Trying to actually figure that stuff out and understand it, like, it takes a while, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
It does take a while, especially to tie it into what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you know, it's another interesting thing as well about the personal branding thing. Is like, I think, you know, when people think personal branding, straight away just logos pop into their mind and colors and like what it looks like on the outside, the exterior of how it looks. But the personal brand is really an internal thing.
Yeah.
It's what people think about when and how they feel when they think about something.
Yeah.
You know? It's like Area Academy is much more than just a fucking logo.
Yeah. 100%.
It's like it's how you think, it's like your opinion on it. Or I don't know, it's like a reputation thing. And that's in the cloud. It's not a physical thing. It's a feeling. You know?
It's hard to quantify.
And like that's what people need to work on instead of just I'm working on my branding. I'm just gonna change what color scheme it is. It's like that's not doing any good for anyone. It's the message that you're getting across, and I think just like there's been so much exploitation. I think in a lot of industries, not just hair. So it's hard to just blame hair, but moving into the next stage of life and trying to incorporate the new technologies into the hair industry is going to keep it at the forefront and keep it important, like so people can actually earn some more money, because really it's not important, like to a degree. We don't need to get haircuts. Like we're almost toxically logic, you know, to a degree.
Wait, toxically what?
Toxic logic.
Someone told me that once.
Yeah, let's go. I need to hear it. I don't know what that means.
Toxic logic.
Too much logic, like
too much
Gotcha.
logic.
to the point where it's like,
You're too logical.
why are we even cutting hair? Because it doesn't matter, like, because it's just such a weird thing to do,
Yeah.
It's like, why are we making people look like ice sculptures? You don't have to sculpt ice.
You just grow it out.
Just be.
Just late, yeah.
Just be.
So yeah,
That's about it.
that's about it.
Yeah.
That was a nice conversation.
Oh,
But
yeah, it was a goodie.
we always like, with our guests, it's nice to kind of wrap up and
I'd like to end with one
there's one.
question.
Yeah.
I'll let Owen. Owen says it nice.
It's a good question, and it's such a simple question, but like it's a question that obviously sparks a lot of emotion in people too. But are you happy?
Yeah, like 100%. It's just how I want to answer that I'm thinking about. Like, there's a peace that can be experienced in this life that I think is so easily accessible, but people just don't know it exists. And like for me, that's like a long journey of searching everywhere. Not that long. I'm pretty young, but and it's an ongoing journey for sure. But like the understanding there's not much out there in terms of what can give us peace except Jesus for me. But yeah, like through those seasons, you've got everything you need, and we're so blessed to be able to experience that in this life, and it's crazy. Obviously, you have seasons of hardship, but when you have that growth mindset and understanding that you can move through those things and learn from them along the way, it gives this taste to life that I hadn't experienced. So yeah, definitely.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It creates like a trust in the universe to a degree, doesn't it?
100%.
I think when you give in and you just trust.
Yeah.
I like what you said there as well about the peace. There's a peace that you can find. It's almost like the tranquility. I heard that from someone. It's like, is happiness what we're meant to be looking for? Is it the people that find when they're most comfortable is in the tranquil moments in life?
Yeah.
Like, maybe we just need to look for that. Be okay with the tranquil moments.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the answer.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's so good.
And I think when you let go of all like the expectation as well, we put a lot of expectation on ourselves, like because of external influence.
Because there's an expectation. If you're trying to always look for happiness and be happy, there's an expectation there that there's a certain feeling you're going to get. And the same with not being happy. I can't be down. I can't be depressed. There's an expectation.
Yeah.
It's
well,
like,
that's it. That's why it's hard to answer. Like happiness is one of the emotions we experience. It's hard to. You can't just stay in this extreme.
And that's what I say to people. I would hate to be in ecstatic happiness all the time.
All the time,
There'd probably be something wrong.
It'd be so tiring.
But like that's the next thing.
But it's about raising your baseline, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like your baseline of happiness still has to be a certain I feel like mine, I like to keep it at a certain point, but it's like it's not always like in the fucking red zone, where it's just like going crazy, or the green zone, whatever you want to call it.
And then kind of next, I'll be like, what makes you happy? Like, when are you your happiest? Or what brings you joy?
I'm pretty addicted to sparkling water.
Amazing.
Awesome. So just drink sparkling water.
It's so weird, but I literally say that and I'm like, yes, this is all I need to survive.
It's one of those
pretty good
things, right? Have you ever had the stuff from Hepburn Springs? Have you ever had that?
No.
Naturally sparkling, mate.
Are you serious? Hepburn Springs, where
That's
is this
one
place?
for the viewers, isn't it? One for the listeners. So it's a bore underground.
Yeah.
Some of the most heavily mineral-based mineral water in Australia, and as it comes up, it carbonates itself.
That's crazy, man. I need to go there.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, that's.
What about you guys?
That's beautiful.
Are you guys happy?
Yeah, I would say I am. I'm definitely on a roller coaster. There's Luna Park down there. That's fucking me right now. on that roller coaster I'm up and down, I'm all over the place, but ultimately I think when you come back to a place of gratitude, and you look, you're not always looking up at what you don't have, but you can look back or look kind of at different people's situations, and I don't know, I try not to almost think about that either, because it's not my fault that I was born in Ireland and I ended up here. It's just the circumstances of my life, but ultimately I think I am.
So good.
Yeah, I think for me, I'm definitely finding it easier to be happy more, to enjoy my moments more. Like, that's a theme of my life. I'm really just trying to, I don't, it's hard to explain, but I just lighten everything, push anything that weighs me. I'm just trying to let it go, and that allows me to enjoy my moments more. And something that I think about throughout my life is like, it's not taught, what definitely wasn't taught to me, to stop and think if you're happy, on the way.
That's funny, because
if you ask me, lately in the last 15 years of your career, did you ever stop to actually think if you're happy with what you're doing? No. Why? Because that wasn't a thing. It wasn't told to me, all right, each season, like you say, every 6 months or a year, stop and think about and reassess everything. Is this okay for you?
It's like evaluating a business, on a quarterly basis or something. You just have to do your numbers, do your financials, see if it's working. Are you breaking even on happiness?
And I think I'm getting better at, definitely getting better at it. I'm finding it easier to enjoy more moments, more of the time.
So
I feel like I go through waves of coming to terms with past versions of myself and accepting me for who I was in that season. Certain things come up from certain relationships or certain values and views in the world that were instilled in me that I'm trying to overcome, and I know that aren't particularly right, but it's almost like the generational stuff that has to stop here. And coming to terms with that can sometimes put you in a bit of a spiral. It can flip you, you can be feeling one way one minute, and then as you're on that journey and that self-discovery and transformational path, it just fucking flips you around, and you're like, holy fuck. You start I don't know, but realizing that that's not me right now. That was a version of me then that I didn't like, and it's like, okay, well, am I going to just continue to not like it, or I'm just going to accept it and move on and do better in the future? I think that's probably where I'm at.
So good.
But is there anything else that you want to touch on? Did we leave anything out? You want to share anything else? Did you come in today with any expectations or any things that you thought were valuable and wanted to share?
Thanks for giving me that opportunity. But I'm just stoked on the conversation we've had, and just kind of connecting with you guys has been awesome for me. So thank you.
Oh, for sure. I'm sure we'll connect many more times. When you've figured out how to incorporate NFTs into hair, and you make impact on millions of people's lives and make millions and billions of dollars, then we'll get you back on again.
Don't say that.
But there's no pressure. Keep enjoying the sparkling water.
That looks great.
I will.
That looks great too.
That's fucking great too. It's sometimes I wish life would just be that simple. And it's amazing to hear that that's what you've made it. Because sometimes we overcomplicate everything.
Well, that's the theme there, isn't it? I think we've noticed that. It's just simplify it. Simplify it.
Well, something you guys kept saying early on that kind of came up in me was awareness and how key that is. So for me to say those things right now in this season of life, in this very situation, I'm super fortunate to be here. So I'm going to say things because I feel good in this moment, that's where it flows from. So you could ask me in a week and it might be a little bit of a different answer. There's always that room for our perception to be changing, and it's only when we see it and are become aware of a certain thing in ourselves that we observe it, and then the thing just falls off.
It's almost like if we had Josh Stewart here 3 or 4 years ago, 5 years ago, would have been a different conversation, right?
Absolutely.
And I feel like that too. It's think about our kids, they're going to be able to listen to every conversation that we've had on this podcast.
That's sick.
Go back, look at everything that we've done, see us on our transformational journey. We can be influences and impacts on them.
That's unreal. So good.
It's crazy.
Oh, I'm glad I'm gonna have this little hour segment to look back on. So
You have to start your own podcast so you can have these conversations. I think
it's fun.
I think just having conversation is just important. Like, and
for sure,
having people hear it. You know, like people are just listening in our conversation. Sometimes it's the conversation that you didn't know you needed to hear is the one that hits. You know, so putting yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
You know.
Absolutely.
You don't always have to look for the fucking crazy shit. So.
Thanks, guys.
There it is.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
That's it. That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.